AI this, AI that. Like, where do my thoughts begin and when does Claude's end? That's what I want to talk about today because I feel like I'm losing a little bit of my creativity. And this began all because of my sister. Yes, my sister, and I know she's going to watch this video. I love AI. I use it every day for a lot of different things. And I'm not one that always thought of myself as a creative person, and that's a limiting belief I have to kind of fix. But when I spoke to my sister a couple of weeks ago, she says, "Hey, every time I talk to you, is Claude this, Claude that? Is Claude your God?" And it made me think and it stopped me in my tracks like, whoa, do I really use Claude that much? Like, I only use it for XYZ, but that is a lot. And I thought through this and I was like, even if I get an idea, I want to brainstorm or I'm planning some type of like content or planning my week, I open Claude. And I've gotten so used to getting like finding those good answers that I don't even have time to build on my own thoughts and actually have my voice anymore. And so in some way I feel like I'm losing myself and my voice to Claude. And the more I realize, the more I figure that it really isn't about AI at all. My first instinct was to like laugh it off, but I really did sit with it because it's so true. I use Claude a lot. And even if I'm thinking about an idea, if I'm brainstorming, if I'm scheduling, if everything, even meal planning, right? Or like my fitness workouts, like I use AI for everything. I say this because not because like AI is bad. This is not an AI bashing video. This is an incredible tool that was built to simplify our life. Like it is our like we have our own intelligence. That's just artificial. So I love that it's helpful for like brainstorming, editing, building out different things. I've used it to schedule things on my calendars to make sure I have block times for like workouts, for like my meditation, for my hobbies and different things like that because I don't need to be spending time in the calendar doing all that and it's great, but it's also an excuse that I've used not to think for myself. Yes. Yes, I'm calling myself out because I know there are lots of us out there and I felt like when we were talking about when she said this, right? Like my first instinct, yes, was laugh it off, but no, even I didn't feel like defensive about it, but I felt a little bit of shame. Shame because I was like, she's kind of right and she's true because I have depended on this for a lot of things that I could use my brain for. And sometimes I feel like my brain cells are dying, that they need to be used, they need to be massaged, they need to be exercised more, they need to build that muscle. The same way that I am going to the gym, going to do Pilates classes and toning and making sure I get stronger, I need to also strengthen my intellect. And with AI and my preference, everybody has theirs is Claudette, Claude. And since it came out, I feel like ChatGPT has just gone to back burner. But either way, I use both of them day to day. ChatGPT is a little bit more agreeable, very nice. Claude is very strict. I feel like as a good cop, bad cop. If you use both, let me know how if this is true on your end. If you feel like ChatGPT is just kind of like an encourager for you, but Claude to me is very direct and tells you like how it is. But I found myself like really relying on that discoverability from Claude or looking for validation of my thoughts from Claude, which shouldn't be because and I would say this goes really intrinsically to how I view myself as well. I've never really thought of myself as creative. But that's why like what friends or anyone would say, like in my head, whatever a creative person is, I've created a persona and said that's the person and maybe that person isn't me. But if I strip that down and think about like what does it mean to be creative? What does it mean to have that creative energy? What does it mean to have that creative outlet? We all are creative in our own way, right? For me, I'm creative in the sense of my curiosity because I love to learn. I learn just for the sake of learning. Like I'm very curious about different things from learning the guitar, from learning Spanish, from learning, excuse me, how to make candles from scratch, from learning, like things from about like personal finance and the fire movement and getting to like a certain goal or financial goal. Like I've had to learn that on my own. It's been fun along the process, and that's great and all. But sometimes from the creative outlet things, whether that's like in like arts, like I think I used to draw when I was a kid, but from like painting or music and different things, I just felt like that's just not my thing, but it could be my thing. I don't know what, but that's very different video on its own. So from how I viewed myself as creative or not, I would hyper depend on Claude, like validating, like, hey, it's a good idea. Do you think this will run well? And one thing I found out is that sometimes my best ideas, honestly, come from when I don't have a lot of the noise. And this is not only for AI, right? So I think it comes to like social media, comes to podcasts, news, newsletters. I've tried my best now to kind of silence them out because a lot of people have their own opinions, their own thought process on this, how to use this, blah, blah. If I open my feed, it seems like we're all being pitched the same thing. And I think even within like my 4 or 5 friends, we kind of send each other the same reels. Like it seems like all we're seeing the same thing and there's nothing new to be discovered anymore. Well, back to the whole creative outlet. Sorry, my mind just goes up and down. But back to the whole creative outlet. When I think and I rely on, Claude for these ideas, sometimes they haven't worked. And most of the thoughts of that, or most of the ideas that I have come up with, and these come when I am doing the most random things ever, or when it's like very calm. So it could be when I'm going for walks, it could be when I'm cooking something, maybe when I'm like dancing around my apartment because you need to have some ways to like let out let out stress when I'm like working out or even when I'm taking a shower. I find like some of the calmest and like interesting ideas always come up like when I'm in a body of water. I don't know if that's the same thing with you, but if it is, tell me because water is a very interesting medium. But I find that when that noise is there, then I have those creative ideas. Then I'm able to be in a flow state, and and like instead of me to trust them, and I just put into, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Like we've all been given a very special gift. Each of us have our unique gift, something that you could do better than I can, and maybe I could do better than you can, but we all have something that we have to offer and we are all creative. And I don't want to lose that. And so I don't know how, but I will ask this question, like, how are you using these incredible AI tools and still not losing your voice? I don't want to lose mine, but I feel like I kind of am with the way that I have been. And so I'm trying to change that habit. And so, what I think, at least moving forward, because I don't want to look outside of myself for things, I don't like, I want AI to sharpen my thoughts, but not just and not discover them. Like I want to discover mine. I want to elevate mine. I want to have my own thought process and keep it and just expound on it on things that I've not used. But I find myself also sometimes going into the other side of things where I'm like, hey, what do you think? Tell me that. But the thing about AI or like, general tools, they don't have the lived human experience. And that's your unique selling point. We're human, we all feel the emotion. It can't, like, yes, you can understand some pain points, but you have lived it. You know how to speak to another human about these things. And that's where I like, it was like a light bulb moment for me. That was like, hey, you have your own intelligence. These are just artificial. Yes, it could be as great as possible, but you are born with your unique intelligence. And yeah, it made me think for a while of how much I've just not sat in that uncertainty of, I don't know if this is going to be good or bad. And so what I want to start doing, at least to preserve my voice, is one, to think of my idea before I go to Claude. Like create that space. Whether that's like, hey, I love French jazz when I need to like really think and get into the zone. I love French jazz, like something slow and just get into that creative spirit, right? And just think my own thoughts before Claude. And then the second thing that I pretty much have to do as well is I need to slow it down, but seek God first or meditate and pray. Because, I mean, yes, I can be creative, but there was a creator before me. And I need to be able to download those things in time before I go to the creation, Claude, to figure it out for me. So I want to be able to, hey, write those thoughts first, sit down really quietly and meditate and have that time. And then the last thing I think is sit with ideas for a certain amount of time, whether that's like, 20 minutes to stay in that flow or stay in that creative space, because different things come up. It may be silly at first, but I think once you're in that zone, things just pop up, or things that you haven't noticed in a while. I've noticed this as well, like things that I don't notice, or things that once I just let myself be, then it comes out. Then it's like, wow, so I am creative after all. So I can do this after all. But I want to be able to sit with it. And, for me, leaving my job and after I quit, I thought freedom would look a little bit more different, where I have free time on my calendar. I could do whatever I want to do. I do find myself trying to fill it up. So maybe I could talk about that in a different video. But with this freedom that I have, I think it also comes with protecting your attention. It's very easy for you to just doom scroll all day, or just consume, 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 and not create. And so, in finding my own voice and finding my own lane, I think it's important to calm the noise and just try and develop your own perspective by protecting your attention, protecting your attention, protecting your creativity, protecting your time and your space. I think the space has so much. I don't know about you, but when I feel like my space is scattered, it means my brain also is scattered as well. So I always have to like clean up. And I know feng shui things are like, hey, if your bedroom is messy, it means something. I don't know. I'll look into into what that means. But protecting that space is also very, very valuable. So I haven't figured this out yet, but I just wanted to bring this up because I find that in this fast world that we're living in and adopting new things, I still want to be me. I still want to have that unique perspective instead of sounding like everyone, instead of doing what every single person is doing, but create that lane and be happy about it as your creative self. Got me thinking, especially when my sister asked that. So I don't know if that's the same for you, but is Claude your God, or is ChatGPT your God? I don't know, but I'm using this time to figure it out and sit with those questions. So yeah, I think that's it for this video. But if you like that, don't forget, I post videos every single Saturday. So like, subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.